Welcome to the More Life podcast, where creatives, problem solvers, and entrepreneurs talk about squeezing more out and finding meaning in this crazy thing we call life. Let's dive in. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the More Life podcast. I'm your host, Bart if you're new around here, and welcome. It has been a hot minute. I feel like since I've recorded, since we batched a lot of this work beforehand, so I'm excited to be here with you guys. We're going to jump right into this episode. There's no real announcements other than, if it's your first time listening or watching or viewing, please give us a thumbs up, a like, a follow, engage with the content. It really does help us stand out on YouTube and on different platforms, especially on podcasts, and it helps us continue to make these episodes. So it's really, really cool for us to do this and to get guests on here every other week. So by continuing to support this channel, you support me in producing these videos where I get to share insights about what is going on in the business, as well as introduce you to some artists and creatives and creators that you otherwise might not know of. So that's the whole sales pitch, but let's dive into this week's episode. I wanted to talk, I don't even know what I want to call this fully yet, but basically this is the mental stability to keep going. And I feel like I've spoken to a few people in the last couple of days where we both kind of encourage each other and we kind of see where we're at. And it's good to have a good friend group like that understand the plight of being an entrepreneur, and it's not necessarily easy, and it requires a lot of mental toughness. And there are some things to kind of keep that cats herded, because running a business kind of feels like you're herding cats, and it's very impossible, or chasing chickens, you're just running around in every which direction. At least it feels like that sometimes. It can feel like that. So how do you keep your sanity when you're trying to run an agency, or as a solopreneur, entrepreneur, as maybe you have a VA and you just got one person who's helping you out? There are some things that I've learned in the last 5 years. Yes, I've been running the business, but I would say in the last 2 years, since we've really had some staff, since we really had some people that have been helping run this company, run this business. So the most important thing is, I think you have to decide what type of leader you are going to be. And I have some notes here. I'm going to be looking at my notes, so don't mind me. If you're listening, I am reading some of this stuff that I wrote down as I was going for a walk. You have to choose what type of leader you're going to be. And in my mind, there's three kinds of leaders. And this is, just in what I see in terms of creative entrepreneurs that I've talked to. You're either the executive, you're the practitioner, or you're the visionary. And they each have roles and functions, and you usually like love language, you have a primary and you have a secondary. So executive is more like you're the manager. You're the person who is very into seeing reports, managing output, managing input, keeping tabs on every aspect of your business, understanding your financial statements, understanding timelines, and helping organize and help execute, help those that are executing do their job to the best of their ability. And that's what a CEO is a chief executive officer, right? So you're an executive, that type of leader or owner of a business. This next one is a practitioner. That's the complete opposite of an executive. A practitioner is somebody, let's say, who is creative. Let's use that one. Let's say they're creative, they're a designer, a graphic designer, and they still want to be the lead designer. Even though they're running the business, even though they are running the operations behind the scenes, their primary role that they see themselves in is to run the actual bread and butter of the business. So if you're a designer, they want to be the chief designer, outlining the design goals, outlining what approach is going to be taken, how the tone is going to be replicated. If you're a baker, you're the owner of the company, but you're still the one who comes in every morning and bakes the bread. I'm baking all the stuff because I'm a practitioner. I'm somebody who lives this stuff. So, and the other one obviously is the visionary. And
There are some people who are really good at this and others who are not. And that's really the person who can see the future, who can inspire others, who can help others see the best inside themselves. They are great encouragers. They are great motivators. They're people who really just kind of live in the future more than live in the present, and they are usually very well liked and big emotions and big personalities because they see the potential of but you have to choose which one of these leaders you're going to be, at least primarily and secondarily. For myself, I would say I'm an executive visionary. I don't do any practical work as much anymore. You're not going to catch me designing things, even though I love it. It really is a passion of mine. But thinking of strategy, thinking of ideas, thinking of where we're going to be in 5 years, as well as my executive role. I'm very concerned at this stage in our company just because everything is so tight in terms of our finances and operational costs and labor costs. So I'm very much a stickler as to where is the money going? How are the accounts set up? Who's talking to the accountant? How do we manage our bookkeeping? Those type of executive things. I'm very much, dealing with that right now. That's kind of where my business is, what it requires of me to be. I need to be the person who is most engaged with our systems, with our operation, with our, personnel management, and keeping tabs on those real key metrics, those operational metrics, to make sure that we're in a space where we feel comfortable and that we feel happy working together. Because, if you're just all visionary with no executive, then I think you need to find somebody who can run that if you want to grow something that's bigger than just you doing it. You're going to need somebody somehow, some way, whether it's a VA or a coach of some sort who comes in as a fractional executive, operationally, just to help you. Those things are extremely important to have. And same thing with being a practitioner. It's okay to be a practitioner as the leader, but you just have to know your role and find out, okay, so who's thinking about 5 years out and who's making sure that today we're delivering on time. So those type of things you just need to make sure you're thinking about. And again, this is all about keeping our cool under pressure while we are trying to navigate, a business. And maybe you're at the beginning stage. Maybe you're at the stage where you feel like nothing is really getting traction. We'll talk about that a little bit later, where you need to be and how you need to start to think mentally inside your mind, because it is a journey, it is a process. Talk to anybody who's done it before. They will smile and be like, yep, I know that feeling, because it's such a real life lesson, really. And if you can do and get through this, you can get through so much. The next thing that I think is really important to help you stay sane as you are trying to grow a business is never be the smartest person in every room. That goes in so many different ways. Meaning, if you're growing and you have some team members, whether they're part-time or contract or virtual, you don't only want to hire somebody who is not as intelligent or capable or dreamer, how big they can dream as you are. You don't ever want to be that, because then the whole business is limited by you, your capabilities, your understanding, your knowledge, your capacity. You need to look for people when you are hiring, and you need to start to think about, as a leader in your business, you need to start to think about, who around me is a multiplier? Who around me can I give 5% of my time to, and they can give me 25% back? Who is somebody who I can give a piece of information and they can run with and execute in multiple spaces and not just the direct instructions that I gave them? Finding multipliers takes skills, and especially if you're at the beginning stages of your business, you may not know necessarily what to look for in interviewing and hiring and all that kind of stuff can be very complicated. But that's a very good indication that you're on the right track. Is you're like, oh, if I had this person, I would be able to do X, Y, Z so much more because I trust them that much to handle the other parts of this. You need to have, people around you who are intelligent. So whether it's your clients, don't only work with clients that you feel that you know more than. Don't only work with clients that you feel that you can lead them and like, okay, well, I'm going to be the smartest person in that room. You're going to want to look for, if you want to grow, you're going to want to look for people that stretch you in your capacity. Not every single time, but sometimes when you guys are doing the same type of projects and you feel real comfortable, it's ready to go for the next leap. This is how you stay sharp as you are trying to grow a business. You're like, okay, I'm going to start to talk to different levels of companies. Maybe you're talking to boutique firms. We did this as well when we first started out. I wanted to find a company that would hire me that, maybe was making $150,000 to $300,000 a year. I knew back then they'd be willing to pay, $500 or $1,000 for a logo. That would make sense for them. As we progressed, we started looking for different profiles of businesses. We started looking for $500,000, $1 million, multiple millions of dollars, because now those people are willing to afford, or not even afford, willing to invest in the value that I am proposing that I offer. And so you don't want to be the smartest person. Don't ever use yourself as a gauge, because you never know what you don't know. And you may think that you're really hot stuff right now and that, oh, I really have a grasp on market and I have a good grasp of industry and strategy. You may find yourself in a room where you're introduced to somebody who is vastly more intelligent and could be a great connector and a multiplier for you in a networking sense and not just in a team sense. So make sure that you're not always the smartest person in every room that you're in. It's okay to be the smartest person in a room or two. That's great, sure. But in every room, no. Even in terms of ingest and who is speaking into your life, who are the friends and peer group members that you have, who are your contemporaries, people that are on the same path as you. Don't just find people that you are ahead of. Find some people who are ahead of you who will be able to add some insight into how you grow your business, and they'll be able to actually help you understand what are the things you need to do to get to another level or to tap into another level while you're in this limbo stage. When you're trying to grow a business, it feels like you're stuck in mud. It feels for a long time that you are just trying to grind out these gears and that you're not really moving. The difference is that you are actually putting in reps and you're actually putting in the work so that your muscles are strong enough to pull you out of the mud. But while you're working on that, it just feels like you're still stuck in there. But eventually, the more you wiggle and pull and push, and the more that you go through the repetitions, and the more that you stay steadfast, for lack of a better word, the more that you stay steadfast or stay determined or stay disciplined into what you're supposed to be doing, eventually you'll have enough reps that you'll be smart enough, ready enough, strong enough, capable enough, progressive enough to pull yourself out and to get the wheels moving out of that stuck mud. Look for multipliers. Look for people that can help your business. Don't be the smartest person in the room. Don't be the cap or the bottleneck of your entire business. That is a huge downfall that will make your limbo, your waiting time, your penultimate time, way more congested and draining than what it needs to be. Okay, so that was number two. You need to decide. Firstly, number one was choosing what type of leader you're going to be. Number two is making sure that you're not the smartest person. Number three, understand your strengths and your weaknesses. Okay, this is something that seems a little bit intuitive, like, oh, of course, duh, I need to, know what I'm good at and try to leverage that. Yes, of course, yeah, I agree with that. But you do need to make sure that as you're going through the motions of operating your business, and you're taking notes as to like, we keep having similar problems. This is how I feel like I'm not, performing my best. I can't lead my team. For you to lead your team and team members, you yourself need to be the the chief person in your business who understands uniquely what they are good at. And you can't be good at everything as much as you believe or want to believe that you are going to be good at everything. But you need to understand that I'm not good at everything. And it's going to require me to do some digging and to understand what are the things that I'm best at and worst at, and what are the things that are weaknesses, meaning that I'm good enough at this, but it actually becomes a bottleneck and it becomes a stopgap for my entire company. So for me, again, I can only speak to myself. Ideation and strategy, strong suit. You want me to think about ideas and come up with strategies? I got you. All day, every day, I live, breathe, eat this stuff. I would love to just have a life where I just parachute in and consult and help people through their problems. I feel like that's something I'm naturally gifted at. I like reading about. I love learning about. That's huge. Now, versus time management, productivity. Okay, well, maybe those are some of my weaknesses. I love to think that I'm very productive and that I have great organizational skills and I have good time management. But truthfully, if I'm being honest with myself, those things are things that I am barely good enough at and actually become something that could hinder my business. The reason why you need to understand what your strengths and your weaknesses are, because it is the first line of defense you're going to have as to who you need to hire to help you. There are two pathways that you can take when you're trying to grow your business and you're building a team. Number one is the operational. That's people that are going to help you run the business. And then the next one is the practical. These are the people that are going to help you perform the tasks that are going to deliver on the client side. And for me, I started with the practical side. I thought that I was good enough as a manager, good enough as an executive to just handle all of the operational work and administration that would be required of me. I then learned, a year into it, 2 years into it, I needed, Patricia. Patricia is our VA. She does all of our admin and our project management for us from a virtual location. And I was like, oh, what was taking me like 2 hours to do to like sort through and respond to my emails, she was doing in 25 minutes. And I was like, this is why you need to understand your strengths and weaknesses. I thought I was doing a good job because I was scheduling it and doing it, but it was still not as efficient as what it could be. And it took me longer because I didn't necessarily care or want to have so many things cluttering my mind. And so I wasn't necessarily excited to go through my inbox or excited to go through Asana, excited to assign tasks to our teammates. So it became so much easier for me to make a decision to hire someone to help with the administration because it was a weakness of mine, where she takes care of my time management and she actually helps me manage my productivity. These are the things that you need to understand about what is going to help you continue to stay sane as you are on this journey, because like we said multiple times, it is a journey. Now, in line with number 3, which is, understanding your strengths and weaknesses, is number 4. And that is eliminating mundane decisions. And this is, again, I'm talking to myself. I can only share what I know. There is a lot of processing power, or there's a finite, rather, amount of processing power computing my brain can actually do in a day and in a week. And understanding your strengths and weaknesses is a big part of understanding how your rhythms and your cadence of how your weeks go. And so if I'm cluttered making not meaningless, but second tier decisions all day long, then I don't get to maximize my mental clarity for the big decisions or big, deep focus work that I need to be doing. And that is a huge time crunch. It is a huge performance crunch. It is a huge everything crunch because now I'm not performing my best, which means I'm not paying the best attention, which means I'm not supporting and elevating my team the best. So everything then becomes a crunch because I'm making decisions on things that are mediocre or things that unnecessarily should not be worth my time. This is something that you have to understand, that you have a finite amount of creative, of administrative, of managerial capacity, no matter what it is. There's a finite amount of capacity in your brain. And you need to understand when you work best and when you don't work best. So with my VA, we talk about I want to have meetings on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I don't want to talk to anybody on Wednesdays. I also, Patricia knows, listen, it's better to have my meetings stacked in the morning when I have lots of energy and I am able to do work. And if there's something that's lesser important, put it in the afternoon. I have less energy, but I'll still be around. Some people might feel like, hey, you want to maybe do the less important stuff first, or however it works for you. You just figure out something that works. I want to be in a place where I don't have to do deep work in the afternoon because, again, I don't have the same type of mental acuity in the afternoon as I do in the morning. Deep work on Wednesdays when I don't have any meetings always happens in the morning. We also have office hours. It starts in the morning. This is how I keep tabs of where I am as a person, and I have to be aware of these things so that I can lead a team, so that I can withstand the crazy moments of this grind that we call this business. Okay, lastly, number 4. Actually, before we go to number 4, one more little point about eliminating mundane decisions. Only do what you can do and nothing else. I know it's very hard when it's just you and it's just a small business or just a small fraction, and it seems daunting to hire somebody to help you administratively or creatively or whatever else it takes. But do a time audit and understand what you really are doing and assign a high, medium, low priority value to each one of your tasks that you're doing for a week. Maybe do it for 2 weeks to get a good average. And then decide what are the things here that only I could do. Nobody else, no matter who I hire, could do this, at least now. And that's what needs to be your number one priority. Get those things done first. And then decide how could I find somebody who is a multiplier, who can help me do secondary and tertiary tier priority items, but still provide me with more time so I can accomplish more of the primary items. Okay. For us, again, I can only speak to what works for us. Because Patricia and Amanda, who is our content manager, are so good, they are multipliers. They are so good at creating bandwidth for me by being so good at their jobs. It now allows me to focus even more on the executive role that I have. And my secondary part of my executive role is sales. Nobody else does sales in this company but me. We don't have a sales associate or a director of sales. So I'm doing all the outreach, lead development, and sales pipeline myself, and some automation in there because obviously. But the only way I can spend time and do those things appropriately, and the only way that we've been able to grow year over year over year, is because every single year I've gotten better at doing less things and doing more of the thing that only I can do. I'm very good at selling our services and understanding how to hook in a sale and close the sale. So find those things. What are the things that only you can do? And make sure that you are doing those things at a high clip, that you are doing them over and over and over again. Okay, number 5, this is obvious. You need to track output. You need to track your output. You're never going to, even if you feel like you're stuck, track your output, track it versus year over year, and you'll see that, okay, it feels like I'm stuck, but I'm actually been growing. We've actually sent out more emails this month than last. We actually had more sales calls this month than last. We actually had more closed deals by this point and more generated revenue than last year. You will find the trend most likely in your favor if you are diligent in working, if you are disciplined in your working. You will see that you are growing. You are actually accomplishing more than you did in previous years. It just, you are stuck in that moment where you have to grow to a next phase. Like I said, it's not easy. It's so hard. It's complicated. It feels opposite of what it should be. But if you keep going, and if you dig deep, and if you continue to stay disciplined, doing the things you know you're supposed to be doing. And I know some people who feel trapped and they feel stuck, and I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I don't believe that. Everybody knows what they are supposed to do next. It's whether or not you are willing to admit that you know what the next right thing you're supposed to do about it. You know what to do. You know what you want. I've met somebody, recently where I'm talking to them and they're like, well, I just don't know what I want for the business yet. You do know what you want. You don't know if you're willing to do the work to get what you want. At the end of the day, we all have an innate inside feeling, desire as to what we want for ourselves, for our business, for our lives, for our relationships, for our finances, for our health, for every aspect of our lives. Are you willing to do the work? Track the results to keep yourself accountable. Track the results also is a great motivator. Because if you're doing the work, you will be motivated by, you know what? I may not be where I'm supposed to be right now. But I feel like I'm stuck, but I know in my mind that I'm doing the right things. That's how you stay motivated and locked in when you are stuck in the mud. And you will inevitably be stuck in the mud. You will inevitably be stuck in the mud. Do not be surprised when this happens. It may take you a second to realize what has happened, but you will be stuck in the mud and you will still find a way out. So make sure you are prepared with what we talked about. What type of leader are you? Don't be the smartest person all the time. Understanding your strengths and your weaknesses. What are you doing with eliminating your mundane decisions? Protect your mental capacity. Track your output. I was watching a video with Viola Davis and Samuel L. Jackson of Variety, where they're interviewing each other. And they talk about being in the right place, but it just not being your time. Sometimes being stuck in the mud is exactly where you need to be. And you might feel that other people are being picked out and selected and growing beyond you than what you thought that was going to be for you. If you know that you're doing those other 5 things that we're doing, you're being mentally sharp, you're not being the smartest person in the room, you know what type of leader you are determined and focused in your work. If you know those things to be true, stay steadfast, stay where you are. You're in the right place. You're in the right place. It's just not your time yet. And that's okay. Not every moment is going to be your moment, but you have to be able to remember where you stand and know the work you took or the pathway you took to get to where you are, so that you're able to have the mental toughness to push through. And eventually, it'll be your turn. It will be your turn. Viola Davis goes on to tell Samuel L. Jackson that she was never going to go to Hollywood unless they sent for her. She said, I'm not going there until they call me up to go there. She said, Hollywood is not a place for discovery. Los Angeles is not a place for discovery. I'm going to stay right here where I am. She was a Juilliard graduate. She had already done a lot of plays. She's like, I'm going to stay in New York and do the Broadway and off-Broadway circuit, and she's going to stay there and continue to do work, be the best that she can at every single role until somebody says, you know what, I see the work you're doing, come here. The difference is when you go to Los Angeles and you are looking to be discovered, you are at a disadvantage and you now need to beg for your position and for every meal you get. But when you are there in another part and you're doing what you're supposed to do, I'm in the right place, it's just not my time. When it is my time, they will find me, they will see me, they will elevate me because they will not be able to ignore me. That's what happened. They then come to her and say, we need you for this role. So if you're stuck, if you feel like everything is crazy and that you have been putting in work and putting in work and putting in work and you still don't feel like you're getting anywhere, take courage. Know what you know. Don't go by feelings. Know what you know. Okay? I am being the best version of myself. I have decided what type of leader I'm going to be. And I am doing the work. I'm putting in my reps. And eventually you will be undeniable. It will be your turn. Someone will find you. The right position will be made available to you. The opportunity will present itself for you to move forward. Entrepreneurship is not easy. If it was easy, everybody could do it. You're here for a reason. And you're here because you've made a decision maybe a week, year, 10 years ago. Don't give up now. Keep going. I believe in you. I want you to believe in you and to do the work. All right, guys. I've been Bart. Peace out.